There are so many ways we could approach reducing our anxiety levels, but what's the most important thing? What's the game-changing shift that someone who is currently dealing with high anxiety levels needs to make to get past an anxiety issue for good? Well, in this video, I'm going to explain exactly what that is. And I'm talking a single fix that would comprehensively alter your relationship with anxiety to the point where you could potentially put any anxiety issue firmly in the rearview mirror. Put simply, if everyone made this one change, it would most likely put people like me out of a job. So let's do it. Hi everyone, I'm Tim Box. I'm a mind coach and anxiety therapist. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be answering my most commonly asked question. What's the one thing that I could do now that would have the biggest impact on reducing and controlling my anxiety levels? Now, to understand this one thing to the degree you need to for it to have a meaningful impact, I need to go through a few kind of honorable mentions. A few things that would absolutely help, but most importantly need to be understood for the main shift I'm going to talk about at the end to have the biggest impact. So let's go through these one at a time. The first one might come as a bit of a shock. That's right, the first thing we need to be able to do is to listen to our anxious thoughts. Now, I know this might sound tremendously counterintuitive to the point of seeming a bit scary. After all, isn't it the anxious thoughts that are doing all the damage right now? Surely listening to them is a terrible idea. Well, it's not so much if we listen, it's more about how we listen. If we listen to those thoughts with fear, then they will seem scarier and more harmful than they need to, and potentially make our anxious feelings much worse. But what if we choose to listen without fear? What if we recognize our fears, worries, and concerns as simply a part of our mind trying to alert and protect us from perceived imminent threat? And what if we acknowledge that the vast majority of the things we fear are tremendously unlikely to actually happen? Those what ifs that we worry about only seem so threatening because our fear is putting excessive focus on them and amplifying the perceived likelihood that they'll occur. What if we choose to listen to those concerns whilst knowing that 99.9% of the time nothing much happens at all? Basically, what if those thoughts no longer held any threat? Now, that sounds all well and good, but there's of course a reason why these thoughts feel threatening. After all, what about those intrusive thoughts, the ones where we imagine doing things that would say something about who we are as a person? Maybe even suggesting something about us that we're terrified to accept? Well, there's a very simple reason why those thoughts don't need to concern us. And that's because we reject them. The very reason they disturb us is because they're so contrary to our actual nature. Whilst these sort of thoughts come and go in our subconscious thousands of times a day without us realizing, they're only in our conscious awareness right now because we've started to become concerned that they're there at all and have now started to put unnecessary focus on them. And why has this happened? Because we've started to fear them. So reducing our anxious thoughts is not about pushing them away, trying to ignore them or drown them out with distraction. It's about listening to them without fear. It's about recognizing that they're just thoughts. They're just ideas. They can't do us any harm. Most of the time, they're offered up from our mind in an attempt to protect us from possible threat. It's not a malfunctioning or malevolent part of our mind. It's a concerned part that wants the best for us. This is a good thing. This is why we no longer need to be afraid of our thoughts and why we can listen to them without fearing the impact of hearing them. Another common mistake people make when dealing with anxiety is trying to resist or suppress the physical sensations that accompany it. Ceasing that resistance is, as a result, one of the most impactful single changes we can make in our journey the other side of our anxiety issues. Whilst it's understandable to want to avoid discomfort, resisting any anxiety-related sensations only serves to intensify them. This is because anxiety is the emotion our mind utilizes to point out things of importance that maybe require action. When that important thing is deemed to be threatening to us, then this triggers the stress response, aka fight or flight, and our body gets ready for more extreme action. As soon as we decide that our physical sensations themselves are a threat, then that creates a feedback loop where anxiety triggers physical sensations that feel threatening, thus triggering more physical sensations. Instead of fighting against our anxiety, we can choose to accept it as a natural part of the human experience. we can allow ourselves to feel the physical sensations without judgment or resistance, recognizing that they're simply a very natural and healthy response to perceived threat. Now, the counter-arguments I often hear at this point are either that it very much feels like we are under threat from either our own body or mind, or that there must be something going wrong because our fight or flight response is triggering when there is no obvious threat. Surely that's a malfunction. Well, firstly, when it comes to anxiety, it's worth recognizing that the way it feels is seldom the way it actually is. So it can feel like we're dying when we're not. It can feel like this will never end when it always does. Yes, we might have concluded from the way our body feels that something is badly wrong and we are now fearing those sensations. But the truth is, these feelings are not dangerous. They're just uncomfortable. And the fact that we're going into some degree of fight or flight response, even though we're not in a dangerous situation in terms of our environment, that doesn't mean we're malfunctioning. It just means our mind is making a mistake, which very neatly leads me on to the next thing we need to know. It's important to recognize that our minds are not infallible. We all make mistakes, both cognitively and emotionally, and getting things wrong is a natural part of being a healthy, functioning human being. It's easy to feel frustrated when we seem to be misfiring emotionally, but this doesn't mean we're broken. It simply means we're alive. In fact, mistakes aren't just acceptable. It could be argued mistakes are vital. It's often said that we learn more from our mistakes than we do from our successes. It's adversity that forces us to grow and stepping out of our comfort zone that expands our capacity to achieve. Too often we look at the possible outcomes of an endeavour as either win or lose. But what if we instead frame our options as win or learn? Both of these outcomes are positives. Both represent an opportunity for growth. Both lead to a slightly levelled up version of ourselves. We either get that self-esteem boost of succeeding, or we learn a vital lesson and move forwards more knowledgeable and thus better armed for future challenges. When our mind triggers an emotional response that we perceive to be incorrect or a mistake, then simply regard it as what it is, part of the emotional learning process. If we take each lesson for what it offers and don't look on our struggles as instances of failure, then we give our mind the possibility of learning and growing, and the opportunity of offering up something different next time. Okay, so I've gone through some important and valuable shifts in the way we view anxiety that can make massive changes in how we think, feel, and respond. But now let's get to the whole point of this video, the one change you can make that will make the biggest single improvement in your emotional well-being. But before we do that, I just want to mention that if what I'm talking about resonates and you're looking for ongoing anxiety support, then why not consider becoming a member of this channel? For just £9 a month, you get access to my very best content and ongoing support. You get full access to my Clear Your Head Anxiety Relief Program, plus the Complete Control System training series, which teaches you how to make changes in your own patterns of thought and behavior, as well as weekly members-only live streams, where members get a much greater level of guidance and direct support from me personally. Just click the join button on the channel homepage. Okay, so here it is, the one shift that can change the trajectory of your mental health and emotional well-being, put you back in control of your anxiety levels, and help you find a tangible sense of inner peace. And it's the simplest thing in the world. Be kind to yourself. So imagine a world where everyone embraced self-compassion as a fundamental part of their daily life. Imagine if everyone had the outlook that no matter what they did wrong, no matter how bad they felt, no matter what thoughts they found themselves entertaining, the one thought they never entertained was the idea of any type of self-castigation. Well, I'll tell you right now, in this imagined world, there are a great deal fewer therapists. And why? Because being kind to yourself is the ultimate antidote to anxiety. Being kind to yourself means accepting who you are without judgment. Now, it doesn't mean abandoning any attempts to strive for greatness or failing to see the possibility of improvements. It doesn't mean we delude ourselves into thinking we're perfect just as we are. It simply means that wherever we are on our journey, we don't beat ourselves up for not being further along the road. Yes, we recognize we are flawed. We realize at times we could have done better. Maybe we hope to do better and be better next time. But we're not going to get there by utilizing self-castigation. We get there with self-compassion. And self-compassion means treating yourself with the same kindness, care, and understanding that you would offer to a close friend in times of need. It involves acknowledging your struggles with warmth and empathy rather than harsh self-criticism. And it's by far the best platform to push off to greater things. You see, as human beings, we are far more likely to take the next step forwards if we feel good about the last step we took. And I get that many are raised with the idea that the drill sergeant approach is what gets results. We beat ourselves up and this means we try harder. But in truth, when it comes to our self-talk, we don't encourage ourselves on by talking ourselves down. We don't create the belief that we can go further by highlighting the fact that so far we just haven't been good enough. Turns out, if we beat ourselves up, we just end up beaten. Self-castigation is one of the most damaging habits we can fall into when dealing with anxiety. It's easy to beat ourselves up for feeling anxious, for not being able to get over it, or for struggling to cope with daily challenges. However, this approach only serves to deepen our sense of shame and inadequacy. Instead of berating ourselves for our perceived shortcomings, we can choose to approach our anxiety with gentleness and compassion. We can recognize that anxiety is a natural response to stress and uncertainty, and that experiencing it doesn't make us weak or flawed. Many of us have a tendency to bully ourselves into feeling and doing better. We might use harsh self-talk, set unrealistic expectations, or push ourselves beyond our limits in an effort to overcome anxiety. However, this approach often backfires, leading to increased stress, burnout, and worsening anxiety sensations. In contrast, practicing self-compassion allows us to break free from the cycle of self-criticism and perfectionism. Instead of trying to force ourselves to feel a certain way or achieve a certain outcome, we can simply be present with our emotions, offering ourselves the same understanding and support we would offer that friend in need. And I'm not saying do this because you're weak and need special treatment. I'm saying do this because it will help you to realize that you are not broken, and in fact you're so much stronger than you realized, and capable of so much more than you've given yourself credit. So in conclusion, the most important tip for anxiety recovery is simple yet profound. Be kind to yourself. By cultivating self-compassion and practicing kindness towards ourselves, we can transform our relationship with anxiety and pave the way for lasting healing and growth. I really hope you found this video helpful. Please give it a thumbs up and share it with anyone who you think might benefit from it. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more content just like this. But that's it for now. I'm Tim Box. Always remember to be kind to your mind, and I'll see you next time.